I've not got you here on false pretences. I am going to discuss Todibo. I am going to discuss James Ward-Prowse. I think, particularly Todibo, that got lost in the traffic, in the fog of everything that happened. So if you remember, in the build-up to the game against Everton, we found out that Ward-Prowse not just had been dropped, he wasn't travelling on the coach. This is a big, big call. The way that Nuno Espirito Santo had spoken about why he dropped Ward-Prowse and Todibo was really interesting after the game. But because of Ward-Prowse, we didn't concentrate too much on Todibo. Because of the game, maybe the unexpected point against Everton, the uplifted performance, so many good performances there. Nuno himself, there were so many things all over the place that were taking the attention. I really wanted to sort of revisit the fact that West Ham have dropped the third manager in a row, by the way, can I say that, has dropped out our £35 million central defender. This is well worth talking about, as I'm sure you'll agree, because I think it's significant. But something caught my attention. I walked down here to do that video, and something caught my attention on the radio as I was listening, and it was about Graham Potter. And it was a guest. I can't even, maybe it was from a newspaper or it was a correspondent or something, and they said on the radio that there were no doubts about Graham Potter's quality at all. That West Ham, it was generally understood in football that West Ham was a tough job to do, and the fact that he had failed at West Ham was no barometer of his ability, and he was in no doubt that he would get another Premier League job. Whoa. Let's put the brakes on there a second. Is West Ham a tough place to manage? Yes, it is. There's no doubt. I agree with. But as I've mentioned on a few videos here, it can be done. David Moyes proved it. You're gonna have to be a tough, thick-skinned, belligerent type of leader that's going to try and force your views through and your opinions through. It's not going to be easy dealing with this board, dealing with the interfering. You're going to have to be strong, really. But so I do think it's a tough job, but I don't think it's an impossible job. But that tough job, I agreed with. There are no doubts about Graham Potter's quality. I'd suggest there are. I've spoken quite a lot about the West Ham job being a chance for Graham Potter to repair after what happened at Chelsea. And he didn't do that. So even before Nuno was appointed, scrap that. Even before we saw Nuno in the last couple of days, actually, he's quite good. Even before that, I thought Potter's reputation was damaged. But I tell you what, if you were a club looking at West Ham now, and you were looking at Graham Potter, and you had seen just what the uplift has been almost immediately from these basic things which we discussed, from morale, basic organisation, just the uplift and the way he was able to get a tune out of the same players, I think reflects really badly on Potter. Really badly. If you were considering it, and I don't think you are, you'd look at it and think, oh man, he's just not. He's not a consideration. We can't get this guy. And I totally disagreed. A Premier League club coming in from, I can't see it. I didn't believe any of that rubbish the other day that Manchester United are doing badly, but they're still a big club. They don't go and sack Amram and go get Graham Potter, for goodness sake, right? But yeah, I think his reputation is damaged. And I think, as I say, I think Nuno's made him look even worse. And because I'm looking at it thinking, what the hell was Potter doing? And I was thinking, what the hell was Potter doing before Nuno started? Just getting the basics right. And I've got to say, I love the way Nuno has come in. I praised last season Arne Slot. Because Arne Slot, I know he's not doing so well this season, obviously. Well, they're still at the top of the league, but you know what I mean. Comparatively, he's not doing as well. He came in last season and he was off the Liverpool job, and apparently they said, what do you want to do about your backroom team? He went, don't worry about it, I'll work with who you've got. Let's just get in there, let's sort this out. He worked with the same players, he worked with the same backroom team. I said at the time, if you've been watching the channel for a long time, I said at the time, I was impressed with that. I'm impressed with what Nuno's done. I'm impressed with the fact he said, no, I'm not writing off the Everton game, I'm not writing off the Arsenal game, let me get in there. I know I haven't got my coaches, let me get in there. I can affect the basic stuff. I can affect the work rate. I can affect the fact I can say to the team, just get it forward quicker. put some crunch, put some bite into the tackle. I can basically put some younger players in the team and in the squads. I think if I do that and get them motivated, I can get an uplift. And yeah, that's cool. Bring in the under-21 coaches, bring in the academy coaches. That's great for me. I love that. I love it. I think it's brilliant. I'm so pleased that he did that. I really am. So look, well done, Nuno. Just very, very pleased with the way he's carried himself and conducted himself. But listen, let's get to what he said about Todibo. Let's get to what he said about James Ward-Prowse, because I just think this is significant. And I think if you've heard the phrase "an iron fist in a velvet glove," that gives the impression, basically the saying is that you've got a steely resolve, that you are resolute, that you are no nonsense. That's the iron fist. The velvet glove but you've got a quite maybe a cultured delivery. You can be diplomatic, and that's what it says. I don't even think we're seeing that. I think what we're seeing here is, I think it's an iron fist in chainmail is what we're seeing at the moment. And I don't mean he's being rude, and I don't mean he's being mean. I just think he's talking frankly and telling it as it is. As I mentioned the other day, I think almost straight away he nailed the interviewer. not like that. That doesn't sound very good, does it? When he did his first interview, he was asked about the team. He was asked about that sort of thing. It was no nonsense. It was a 5-minute interview. I've already mentioned it. In the second part of the interview, the guy who was asking the question said, "So West Ham do a lot of work in the community. We do a lot of charitable stuff. What do you think you can bring to that?" Basically, now, the easy thing, the PR thing to do is to be able to say, "Oh, of course, I love all charities. I'll be looking to integrate into the community. I'll be looking to do this, that and the other." I loved what he said, which was, well, I'm here to manage the first team. If I get the first team sorted out, maybe I can look at some of that charity stuff. But for now, I'm here to get the team playing. This is absolutely right. It was the sort of bumfluffery that's really not needed. Look, charity is so important. It really, really is. But there are loads of people at the club who can do that stuff. There are loads of people there. The West Ham Foundation, they do such good work. But Nuno's smart enough. I think the foundation give... the thing is, you don't know, because that statement was such a load of rubbish. But certainly, the West Ham Foundation and the stuff they do in the community, I don't know over what period of time, but they've given £4 million. Nuno is smart enough to know that without Premier League football, there's no £4 million going to charity or going into the community. And do you know what? Was it the PR answer? No. Was it the media spin answer? No. But it was the right answer. Look, don't worry about it. I'm not going down to the local primary school with a load of bibs and a load of first team players and coaching the kids. I'm going to coach the first team now. There are other people at West Ham that can go and do that stuff, right? I like it. So I'm going off on a tangent here, but as you see, I do. I'm up for talking about Nuno quite a lot. I am going to talk about Todibo just in a second. Before I do, Hammers Chat raffle. If you wouldn't mind checking out our raffle, we'd hugely appreciate it. If you fancy winning yourself some signed Jared Bowen merch, which has actually been signed by Jared Bowen. First prize in the raffle is a signed Jared Bowen shirt. It's not match worn, but it's signed by Jared Bowen. A signed captain's armband is the second prize. And the third prize is a Conference League final programme, again signed by Jared Bowen. The tickets are £5 each. The raffle's gone really well for us. And we're not going to pretend otherwise. We talk about charity. We've done a lot for charity. In fact, Irons supporting food banks. We've done a lot for them. All our proceeds from our boat barges go towards Irons supporting food banks. Just letting you know now, this is literally, you may have noticed, we've lost a sponsor recently. This is literally just to help out Hammers Chat. So yes, one of the ways, like with our Patreon, that you can help out Hammers Chat by buying a ticket. Each ticket is £5. If you buy 2, you get a third ticket for free. The link is in the description below. That runs until Sunday. So, go and have a look. We've got some reviews on there. You can go and follow us. We'll be doing raffles all season long, basically. So, yeah, if you want to go and give us a follow on there. But we'll always let you know on videos when we're doing a raffle. You can be sure of that. Then we have one cheeky swig of the tea. By the way, there you go. Can't buy that anymore, just pointing it out. Todibo. This is a big call. It's a big call. So Nuno was asked afterwards, what about Ward-Prowse and Todibo? he could have hidden behind it. He could have hidden behind it. He really could have done. He just chose not to. Todibo was on the bench for the Palace game. He had clearly been dropped by Graham Potter. Graham Potter was not impressed with him. You heard that, but we heard it afterwards, right? Graham Potter was not impressed with him. He dropped him from the team, but he was on the bench. And for those of you that on Patreon watched me match day vlog that I did, I kept on zooming in on him because he looked unhappy on the bench. I expect anyone to look unhappy on the bench, but he looked particularly miserable. So you could see, I don't say it's in hindsight, I said it at the time, you could see there was something going on. But he still put him on the bench. For Nuno to come in, I can only wonder what's happened. I wonder if he's asked, what's gone on with him? Or is he, there's only one of two things. He's either asked and said, what's the history with this guy? Or, well, three things actually. Or he just doesn't fancy him as a player. Or he's had an interaction with him himself that he doesn't like. So it's either a playing thing, or otherwise he's taken someone else's advice, or he's made up the decision himself. Well, whatever it was, for him to decide, it would have been a lot less questions if he'd have just been on the bench. That's the thing. He has an easier life. If he puts Ward-Prowse and Todibo on the bench, he doesn't get so many questions. To actually say, lads, you're not even coming on the coach. You can stay there. Go and play golf. Do whatever. That's a big, big call. To then go into the post-match interview, and for him to say, look, I had 3 days to look at the squad. Basically, I had to try and put a squad together. I basically did what I thought was right for the team. I picked my squad. There you go. Bad news for James Ward-Prowse, because you have to imagine Souček, as a match winner, will be back in that squad. I don't know. Early guess. Irving is out the squad, and Souček comes back in and sits on the bench. But there's another layer of player. There's another almost, another ceiling that Ward-Prowse got to break through just to get in the squad. He's basically sending the message. I think he's sending a message to West Ham fans. I think he's sending a message to maybe the media. I think he's certainly sending a message to James Ward-Prowse, which is you can leave in January if you want. Nuno won't be. Excuse me. Nuno's already got rid of James Ward-Prowse once. He'll do it again. I won't worry about that. But the Todibo one's big. £35 million. I think you'd probably want to ring fence his value as much as you could with Todibo. And by keeping him on the bench, by keeping him involved, we ain't getting our £35 million back, but it's the difference between getting a significant amount of money back by keeping him involved, or basically depreciating him to such an extent that you end up sending him out on loan, which is what I think will happen. But he's doing what's best for the team. He's not thinking about that. He's not thinking about recouping money on Ward-Prowse. He's not thinking about recouping money on Jean Clair Todibo. In many respects, a bit like the comment about doing work in the community, he doesn't care. He doesn't care what the balance sheet looks like for West Ham. He's just focused on the team. And that is refreshing. That is refreshing. For so long, just go back to Potter. He seemed to want to be sort of all things to all men, or everybody's friend. Just so conscious you felt of saying the right thing. I don't think he was particularly good at it either, because the trouble is when he got shirty, as you saw a couple of times in press conferences, he looked mean because everyone was used to him being nice. And I heard Potter was a really nice guy, by the way. But, that's what happens. Pressure gets to these people and they end up being snappy in press conferences and stuff like that. I don't know if you've heard it. There was I don't know, it must have been on a podcast really with Connor Cody, the things he was saying about Nuno. I love what Bowen said about him. We need a leader, and he is that. And for all, I went on this years ago. I went on this adventure weekend thing. You know the thing. I remember going away years and years ago, and you go away, and you do canoeing and you do abseiling and you do all that stuff. And there was loads of us there, and they split us into groups of 10. And basically, in the group of 10, you spent an hour with each other, and you had to select a leader, basically. And so basically everyone did that, and it's always sort of stuck in my mind the way whatever, the supervisors or the people that were running this course sort of did that. And it just thought it was quite interesting. And the trouble is, I've always looked at Potter, and I didn't see it. I remember thinking to myself, I wouldn't designate him as a leader in a group of 10 people. Never mind to lead a football club. He just doesn't carry that. Nuno is. You'd have him leading your abseiling group. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not leading a group of 10 people. It's to run a football club, and it's to be the figurehead of a multi-million-pound business. Which, if West Ham get relegated, as I said, I think it could possibly even be terminal, because the stadium is about people's jobs. It is to keep that foundation running. It's to keep the tea lady in her job. It's to keep all of those. I don't know who. Oh, I do. It's a London stadium. That's why they make a big loss. I've never seen so many stewards as at a West Ham game. From the moment you get out of that station, that train station, there's people in high-vis jackets everywhere. There's got to be. And by the way, if you've seen inside that stadium on match day as well, even behind the scenes, there's got to be. The stadium staff and all the staff are all around Westfields and all the rest of it. There's got to be over 1,000. I mean, there just has to be. There has to be. There must be well over 1,000. All their wages have got to be paid and stuff like that. So there's a hell of a responsibility on Nuno to keep everybody. So I like it. I like what I've seen, and if what he's got to do is drop Todibo, then that's what he's got to do. But it is symbolic of what he's going to have to do with everybody else. And he's going to make tough decisions. He's got to make decisions quickly. And not overly explain yourself when you make that decision as well. That's basically the way it is. Not try and flower it up. And it was. I look at it, and it was just quite clear that Potter didn't like Todibo, didn't get on with him, but not enough. I would like Mategi would have had our old fisticuffs to him, wouldn't they? I like it. I like the cut of his jib. But I look at Todibo now, and I think there's selecting Igor and then putting him on whilst Todibo wasn't even on the bench. You can make all the press statements you want, but that says everything. That is it. He'll be looking for a new club. His agent will be looking for a new club. The only thing I would say about him is, and I used to say this about Stuyton, that when Stuyton got banned from the dressing room and the training ground by David Moyes, and then Stuyton got banned from the dressing room and the training ground by Lopetegui, you think, okay, look, once you might be able to say, oh, Moyes is the problem, but as soon as it's happened to more than one person, it's, did I rate Lopetegui as a manager? No, not particularly, but the moment it starts to happen on repeatedly, then you've got to look, and you have to look and think, maybe Stuyton, is quite difficult to deal with. That's all you can assume. That's more likely than both Lopetegui and Moyes. And I'll look at this with Todibo now. Todibo's fallen out with Lopetegui. He's fallen out with Graham Potter, and immediately, for some reason, which we don't know yet, the new guy, Nuno Espirito Santo, is looking at him and thinking, I don't like what I see there either. I don't need to know anymore. I don't need to know anymore. I suspect he's going to have to play for the right manager, and a manager that really, really wants him. And I think maybe that's the trouble. He was a Tim Stuyton pick, wasn't he? So Lopetegui never really wanted him. Potter never really wanted him. You look at the way we're going to play under Nuno. This is not the type of centre-back that Nuno's going to want. So, I'd expect him to leave. Anyway, there you go. That's all. 19 minutes, that's all I've got to say. Quite a lot to say, really. Don't forget to raffle, would really appreciate it. Stick a thumbs up on the video if you wouldn't mind. I don't understand how the hype works, but thank you to everybody that's done all that hyping stuff. I don't understand how it works, but people keep letting me know, and it's brilliant. But yeah, subscribe, like, really appreciate it. So yeah, thanks to everybody over the last couple of weeks. Got lots of new subscribers on the channel. Really, really grateful for it, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow.